Thanks very much indeed, Emma. Due to the time, we're only going to take 2 questions from the floor. And hopefully all of our speakers will be around at lunchtime, so you'll be able to grab them and if there are any other questions. So, okay, one for the lady over here.
Thank you. I did have 2 questions. I'll squeeze them in and see what you think. My name's Emma Dufour from Abbott Laboratories. My first question was for Emma. You've indicated the increase in uptake of the parallel scientific advice, and I was just wondering if there's been any changes to overcome some of the practical barriers that seem to be the main reason why the uptake was lower in the past, just the physical organisation of meetings and things. And my other question was for Eric. You mentioned in your presentation when you were looking at the review of risk management plans that there had been some national struggles and some suboptimal plans, and if there's any generic learnings you could share with us on those. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Well, I think the increase in scientific advice has been stimulated by a lot of work behind the scenes on both the EMA and FDA side to try and improve the interactions. I do also think the liaison placements have played a role because at least from the FDA side, because you've got different divisions involved all the time, it's a new learning experience each time. So having somebody who can sort of share that experience has been very beneficial. It's sort of easier in the EU where it's always the scientific advice working party who's involved. But in the US, you have different divisions each time. So, every time it's a new experience. And that's been a bit off-putting, I think, in the beginning. And I think people are beginning to see the real benefits of it, and that's another reason why the uptake has increased.
Well, in terms of RMP, first, what I told you was based on a relatively few number of examples, 6 examples only. But I think in Hudson, for instance, who is a rapporteur for some dossier, could comment as well. The RMP seem to be a little bit suboptimal as far as the added value is concerned, because, as I told you, some of the reasons, some of the regulatory actions that were taken outside of the RMP, which could seem a little bit strange. But more than that, we had, in fact, some difficulties to track down and to track down essentially the deliverables. You see what I mean? After the RMP has been adopted, accepted, and after the Commission decision. As far as the national struggles were concerned, we had some examples where the RMP, more or less, or the way the RMP was built up was interesting for the health technology institutions, and I think in some countries. And some countries would have liked to see the patients of their countries within the RMP, while it was not systematically planned at the beginning. So there were some discussion beyond the marketing authorization between some authorities acting beyond the marketing authorization and the companies. So that's, I know, has happened on occasion, and that was something that I would have liked to mention, because that was part, more or less, of the shortcomings of these RMPs. Maybe you could, because you have obviously the practical view of the rapporteur.
The issues I see in relation to RMPs, first of all, making sure there is an appropriate RMP at the time of approval, and often, some examples of companies not wanting to develop a proper RMP or not want to put terribly much in there, whereas regulators are wanting to see more in there. And then secondly, at the time of approval, when timings are given for some elements of the RMP, delivering according to those timings. So, and this goes beyond the RMP, but it's certainly an element of RMP, goes into specific obligations, etc. Timings for when studies, etc., will be delivered, or additional elements will be delivered, and they tend to slip. and it's all very well at the time of authorization to say we will deliver it by X period, but I wish there was a greater way of making sure that actually those commitments were fulfilled and not delayed or given up on later.
George Buckler from Regaf. The question I have to Lance, I'm trying to understand the GCP aspect. It was my experience in Big Pharma that we would not submit something to you where we had already done a major GCP inspection internally, give it at the level of a percentage of the number of patients and centers. Are you saying that there's an issue with those inspections done by the big pharmas, or are you saying that there are issues where such inspections are not done on studies and dossiers submitted for marketing approvals?
No, I think I'm not really commenting on the number of inspections. I'm really commenting on the focus of the inspections that we have encountered. At least I feel that we've encountered some examples where inspections have been and inspection reports have been a little out of sync with what we at the CHMP level look at as something that's critical. I'm not saying that everything that the inspector should look at should be what we would like to see, because obviously all the ethical issues that I mentioned that are still very, very important and a very important objective of the inspections to look at that side. But we would like the at least for that part of the inspections that deal with the benefit risk, we would like perhaps them to be a little more focused on what is relevant to us. Thanks.
Thanks very much, Jens. I think, unfortunately, we've run out of time for this session, so I'm afraid we're going to have to close it at this point. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank all the speakers for their preparation and their presentation.